Hi everyone, welcome along to the channel. Today we're going to be taking this corner unit and turning it into a beautiful hallway or entryway unit that will be much more functional and much more useful. These corner units used to be in the 90s but have since fallen out of favour. They're made out of lots of bits of solid pine along with veneer, pine veneer, but they're so heavy and so awkward that they're really difficult to move, and there's a lot of people on Facebook Marketplace trying to get rid of them. This one in particular, the depth of the straight bit was deep enough that I could cut the back of it off and turn it just into a narrow kind of console table or entryway or hallway, or it could be used as a buffet or a sideboard. It's just very, very functional now that it doesn't have to go into a corner. So, you want to see how I did it? Then let's get going. So the first thing I did was to remove the doors and the hardware. Always a bit of a challenge when there's only one person, but I managed it. So we know where they go back. Oh, or not. Nope. Looks like the trim's staying. The back's made up of all of these interlocking pine panels, and they're so heavy. I was really glad to get rid of them. The easiest way to get them off is to get this middle panel out first. On my hand. And once the back panel was off, I had the great joy of being able to bash these other bits off as well. While I could get most of the back part off with the circular saw, I couldn't quite get into the corners, so I had to do that manually. I was a little bit concerned about cutting through the timber in the middle, but then I realised I was going to have to cut it off anyway, so I went for it. I cut all the trim off the top with the circular saw, but then I realised later that I probably shouldn't have done that. It looked really unbalanced without it, so I had to go buy some to put it back on again. We live and learn. Then I went in on the top with my Orbital Sander from Ozito. I knew that this was a solid piece of pine, so I could go at it pretty hard. So I started with 80 grit, worked my way through 150 and then up to 240. And then, because I had to put edges back on, I had to also fill all the cracks left over with putty. All the construction was done, so the piece got a scuff sand and then a brush out. And then it got a thorough wash using sugar soap to get all the dust and grime off it, ready to be painted. So while I was always going to whitewash the top, I decided in my wisdom to put stain on first. I'm not entirely sure why, and it was troublesome. I did get some advice from Copper Cactus to put a wood conditioner on underneath the stain, and I will be doing that from now on. Thanks so much for that, Copper Cactus. But in this case, I put 2 coats on and I hated it, so the next morning I sanded it all off again. That was a fun time. There's nothing more satisfying than being able to bash the crap out of stuff. Hammering these nails in looks like magic. It looks like the hammer isn't even hitting them and they're just going down by themselves. It's like it's lots of fun. So then I mixed up my whitewash with half cream paint and half water, started applying it, and it was absolutely beautiful. It went on like putting milk on the surface. And then when we wiped it back, all of these beautiful timber lines came back through, and it was just amazing, and I'm so glad that I took all of the stain off. Then we got onto the business of painting the body of the unit. I used 2 coats of stain blocker and primer in white because I wasn't sure whether any of this red kind of timber would come through. And after that it got 2 coats of white paint, so 4 coats of white in total, and then it ended up getting another 2 coats of polyurethane as well. If you're enjoying the content and want to support the channel, feel free to like the video, click on subscribe, and I have Buy Me a Coffee and my Amazon wish list link down in the description. So I applied 3 coats of this polyurethane from Cabot's to the top, and it's the first time that I've used one of these sponges from Dixie Belle to apply the poly, and I won't do it another way ever again. It was just so beautiful. Gave it a sand in between each coat with 240 grit sandpaper, and it just came up so smooth and beautiful. I was stoked. So the last job was to put all the hardware back on. I had the assistance of Push, the quality control manager, making sure that I was doing it right. I'd like to welcome Mr. Breimagine to the channel in his premiere performance, showing us how to break these breakable screws. And just a quick look at what we had before the big reveal. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you the next time.